Oh, what I'm checking, I can't see anything. Just hoping for the best. All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. B2B. This is Craig, Built to Build. Don't forget to like, subscribe, notifications, all that good stuff that YouTube is supposed to do to help somebody out. Make sure you do all that. But today, I want to talk to you about this massive build, probably one of the biggest builds I've done while at the church. This was our Christmas a couple years ago, 2 years ago, I think. This was a massive set, so we'll just jump right in and go right at it. So this is just initial, this first picture, you just kind of see the full set, how it is. And so basically the concept was to tell a story through the generations. And so from left to right, you would have the older generation, the current generation, and then the future generation. And so each one of those scenes, because we have a smaller stage, we couldn't do large scene changes. I kind of thought about the idea of doing like a rotating base, but I knew the weight was going to be a big problem with the amount of stuff. Putting three dioramas or three living room sets together on a rotating base, the base would have had to cover most of the stage, and it would have had to been able to spin. So the weight of that would have been massive. And so I ended up coming up with this idea and going wall to wall on the stage and building basically three backdrops of three different living rooms. And so from left to right, the older generation, the middle generation is kind of today-ish, and then the one on the far right is the future. So we had lots of fun with that. The actors had lots of fun with that as well. Our props people and all those involved did a fantastic job. But myself and Andrew, we got to work building this set here. And obviously you can imagine the budget for this one was a little bit higher. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was $1,500 for all of this. And this was, again, coming out of COVID, so wood prices were still high. So I always try to do my best to not spend too much money with the church. And so, I talked to Pastor Mark, and we kind of had this idea with Nicole, our creative arts director. And so we got the go ahead, and this is what we kind of came up with. And you could see a lot of lumber was used, a lot of stuff that we used here. You'll see in the future builds, I still have a lot of this lumber lying around. I am huge on reusing and repurposing materials here. And so you can see tons of material here. This is how we started. We started basically framing out walls, just like you're building a house. It's really like you're about to put drywall on it. We didn't use drywall. We just used like little 1/4-inch plywood to cover it, and then we painted it. We don't have the greatest pictures here, but you can see kind of the idea here. And what we wanted to make sure we could do is that the doors were completely functional. People had to come in and out of this. I didn't want them coming from like the side door of our stage or up the steps. It looked kind of silly. I wanted it to look like people were coming home from work, and that was part of the scenes. And so these doors had to work. And in the future scene was a little bit different, actually. The scene to the right was a sliding door. It was like a glass door off of my closet, actually, in my house. And so we had to take the tracks and everything. Now they're already off. I didn't just take my house apart to use it for the set. We already took that off of it. Was lying around in storage in my basement. So when we kind of had this idea for this door, I wanted it to slide open, kind of like, those Star Trek sliding doors back in the day. It didn't do it automatically. I was actually backstage during the play, sliding the door open and shut for the actors. But you can see the frame here taking shape, and a lot of lumber, a lot of planning about how to frame this out so that the actors could still walk on and off the stage behind the set. So one of the biggest things that we needed to do and make sure that we could have was a functional backstage area behind the set. And so you'll see in this picture here is like a walkway, like a tunnel. Eventually, once we built the whole set, we covered it with some black plastic so that it was covered up top and people couldn't see in behind the set. But we needed this walkway so the actors could walk in and out. And Pastor Mark was coming in as well and talking to the congregation and stuff. So those doors needed to be functional, and they needed to have space backstage to walk. And so that took some thinking with Andrew and myself about how we were going to do that and make sure that it was strong enough not to tip, not to move when the doors opened, making sure that it was strong enough that the whole set didn't move when they opened the door. Thank God it worked well. And so when we built that tunnel, we built a bunch of angles and connecting braces and everything in the back, a lot of lumber to accomplish it. But we were also able to bring it down to the stage. And I've mentioned before, but our stage is carpeted, but it's plywood underneath. And so once we bring those supports down to the bottom of the stage, to the steps, we could literally screw it right into the stage. So those walls weren't going anywhere. The walls themselves with the doors in there were screwed in the stage, and then the supports in the back were screwed into the stage. So it was rock solid. You're able to climb up on there and attach the black cloth and everything. It was super strong. Each of those doors were functional. We had the different sliding door. Again, we also had to do some things with the props and things like that. What you could see in the future scene here to the right side, we had to build like this little, I wanted to do a Christmas tree. We wanted to have a Christmas tree in there, and because the future was supposed to depict all about Christmas without Jesus. And so that Christmas tree, the little thing you see on the right there, was just my idea. I just made it out of styrofoam, these circles, and then I cut them in half and then hot glued them to the set wall. And then I just shined. Then I just put a light at the bottom of it and I pointed it up so that it could shine through the circles and create this weird looking Christmas tree thing. We did that. Again, the walls are all built. Everything's built with 2x4s, 2x3s, cross members, all that kind of stuff, and then sheet wood on top of it. I'm pretty sure we just used little 1/4-inch plywood on top of that, and then painted it all with different kinds of paint. You know, the older school kind of paint to the left, a little bit more modern, like a gray, and then like a white, just this clean white. Actually, the material on the walls to the right, it's not wood, it's actually corrugated plastic. And because we we put lights in behind it so that the room itself, one of the actors there is supposed to be a robot, and so whenever the robot got upset with the family or whatever, the whole room changed color. And so that using the corrugated plastic allowed us to change the color of the walls as well whenever the robot got upset. And then some of these pictures here, you'll see some of the framing we did for the windows on the wall. Everything was built with actual pieces, and you'll see in the middle scene there's a window there and it has actual drapes there. Those were functional. We just got them at like where did we get that? I think like at a thrift store, the Restore, I think, the Habitat for Humanity store. That's a wonderful store, by the way. If you're doing anything like this or projects or one-off, you need one-off type of material for houses or builds or whatever, go to Habitat. The Habitat Restore, it's fantastic. Great deals, lots of cool stuff there. Yeah, so we made these window frames as well. Everything was functional in there, and we had all kinds of props, furniture, vacuum cleaners, and just the works. I mean, it worked fantastic. The doors worked perfectly well. We didn't put actual door jambs in, but we did build the 2x4s around, and we had to, cut out the hole so the door, when it closed, it had the lock plate was there so that when you close the door, it actually closed. Like when they walked in and they closed it behind them, it actually clicked in and closed. That was a little tricky. It took a little bit of work, but Andrew's fantastic and we got to do that. It worked well. This build was a monster. It was a massive build. It worked great, turned out great. Everything was functional. Everything was safe. The actors were able to interact with the set, and the set didn't cause a problem. And that's my whole thing, right? Whenever I'm building something on stage, I don't want to be in their way. I don't want them to have to be unnatural. If you're coming home, I want you to just open the door and close it behind you and not think about it. You know what I mean? Like when they close the door, something doesn't fall off the wall, or like, that's just me. I just got to make sure that it's solid like that and it's real, and it's not only me, but the stuff that I build or put on stage is out of the way as possible so that everyone can still interact and be normal and just, and not be tripping over sets or any kind of stage design or anything like that. So it turned out amazing. The night was amazing, and just it turned out phenomenal. As you can see in this picture, it was a beautiful scene. I'll point out too, we didn't have it all lit at the same time. So when the scene on the left was going, we lit up that scene, and then when the middle scene, we lit up that scene, and then we lit up the last scene there. So again, some of the things I would change, maybe drywall. Maybe you could put drywall in there, because then the thing is you could like tape and mud those joints. You can see in this picture here, like that's one thing that bothered me a little bit, that you could see the joints in the walls. I mean, that's just nitpicking. Nobody said anything. And again, everything worked well, and everyone interacted with everything well. So this was a great build, lots of fun, lots of wood, and we're still to this day using that lumber. I think I might be actually on the tail end of that lumber being all used up for everything that's been built since. So yeah, that was another build that we did at the church. A lot of material, a lot of work. Shout out to my boy Andrew, big shout outs to him. He's awesome. Hope you enjoyed that. Just another sit down video here. At the time, wasn't thinking about creating Instagram or YouTube channels and things, so not a lot of videos, didn't record the whole process. And so for this one, we did use a lot of different kinds of tools. Obviously, cut the lumber in the church. When I'm not at home in the church, I have a table saw and a big nice chop saw and lots of room to do things like this. And so, yes, drills, table saws, chop saws, lots and lots of screws, probably thousands of screws. And then cutting the plastic as well. You need to use a knife, an X-Acto knife, or whatever knife you've got to cut the doors out and things like that. But a labor of love for sure. It was a great night. Everything went tremendous. Everything looked tremendous. And obviously the set got rave reviews. Appreciate you guys watching this video. And again, the whole YouTube thing, like, subscribe, notifications, all that would be fantastic. Share this with whoever you want to share it with. If you know anybody else in the props industry, sets industry, and whatever, by all means, share this to them. I don't know. Can it help them? They probably know way more than I know. So appreciate you guys. Make sure you check out the next one. Sean.